Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tea and Crystals podcast. I am T.
And I'm Crystal.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are so happy to have you all back with us for another episode of this here podcast. We got a lot to get into today, and I am so excited. My list for this show is long today, and I am looking forward to getting into it all with you and with you, Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all know before we do how I got to start the show, Crystal. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's been a pretty decent week. I worked for the first half of it, and then the last 2 days I've actually been off, which was kind of a blessing in disguise. It was a much needed break, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's just been long days. So I'm not complaining about the break, but I should be back to my regular schedule next Monday. Back up on the film next week. But yeah, I can't complain too much. How about you? How's your weekend been? What?
My week has been fine. No, it was just the face that you made.
I mean, I can't tell all of what happened this week, but you've already heard some of what happened this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not to give too many details, but I kind of fumbled in front of one of the cast members. I won't say who, and I won't give details, but it was definitely something I have been reliving since it happened. And will continue to relive.
Maybe one day down the line, you can tell that story because y'all, I heard the story on yesterday, and it is worth telling. It is a good story, but until then, it's going to live in the vault until there comes a time that it can be told.
And it will just continue to live rent free in my mind for the next decade or so.
Right. My week was okay. It was a busy week. It was a lot going on. Crystal knows, Crystal and I talk. We're actually friends, y'all. We actually talk. So Crystal knows what's going on behind the scenes, but it's been a wild week, y'all. Crystal got a story from me yesterday about me having the right combination put into my system. And y'all, I got out of character. In what was supposed to be a professional setting. It turned out to not be a professional setting, and that upset me greatly. So I cut up a little bit. Am I proud of it? Yes. To be honest,
I was too.
It would be, Crystal heard the story. It was deserved. Like these people, real life, played on my time, literally. And I have this goes back to last week's episode. I have very, very strong boundaries when it comes to certain things. And I will not budge on those boundaries, even if it means, well, in this case, I really didn't lose out on an opportunity. But if it meant losing out on an opportunity, then so be it. Because, in a professional setting, things are supposed to be handled a certain way. And if we stray from that, then that leaves the door open for foolishness and even more unprofessionalism. And I won't leave that to chance. So Crystal got that story yesterday. Maybe one day when my nerves have gotten better, I will share that story with you all. Look forward to that because it's been a minute.
It's a doozy, but for a Cliff Notes version, just to put that out there, if anyone ever wants to hire Timmy to do anything, be on time and communicate.
Please. Crystal, you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. Be on time.
Simple requests.
And communicate. That's all you need to do. Because if not, y'all will hear the story at another time. Other than that, I do have a few housekeeping things before we get into the show today. Next week, we will not have an episode as we are observing Memorial Day. So we'll say it now. Happy Memorial Day. We hope
Happy
that y'all
Memorial
enjoy
Day.
your Memorial Day weekend. We know y'all gonna go
Mhm.
out there to the beach, have y'all barbecues and all that good stuff. So y'all have fun. We're
Yes.
going to observe the holiday. So there's no episode this week, but there will be an episode the week after. So please
Yes.
look forward to that. We will be notifying y'all on all of our social media when the next episode is going to come out. So y'all please pay attention to that. Along the same lines as podcast. In the meantime, in between time, what y'all can do for us is make sure that you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are listening, wherever there are podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening to us, go to the review section. If there are 5 stars available, click it. Click what if it's 6 stars, baby, the most amount of stars there are, click it. Make sure that you also leave us a written review. Y'all leaving comments on the social medias, y'all leaving comments on the YouTube, but y'all ain't putting y'all comments where they count. Okay, so I need y'all to go on all of those podcasts and platforms, leave your reviews so people can discover us the same way that y'all did. Y'all like the show, right? Y'all want us to continue? Y'all want us to grow? Then please go and do that for us. But I think that's all that I have for housekeeping. Chris, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think you about hit the nail on those.
Yeah.
If I think of anything, I'll do it at the end when you guys have already logged off.
We got to front load these things now, okay?
Yeah.
Keep y'all attention.
But to keep us moving along, we have a couple of things we want to get started with before we actually get into our stories. I do have some fun fact or fiction that I would love to do. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit more of a serious note with our Celebri-TEA segment today. I don't know if any of you guys have been living under a rock for the last few days and or the last week or so by the time this episode comes out. But we're gonna talk about Diddy.
I'm gonna let y'all in on the secret. Pre-production, right? I was brushing my teeth before the show. And I was actually thinking about bringing this up. And I was like, I'm scared. I don't know these people. People be coming up missing around that man. And I don't want no problems. You know what I'm saying? I'm an ocean away. So I shouldn't have nothing to worry about. But, you never know. I might be recording a podcast one day and it might be... And I'm just saying, I ain't saying that man is a, murderer, but I'm just saying, like, people end up dead around here. So,
well, we're going to talk about a specific thing that happened, which is the surveillance video that has just been released. I want to say it was yesterday that it got released. So for anyone who doesn't know, I will warn you before you go looking this up, especially for anyone who has any triggers about domestic violence. It is a pretty graphic video. It features him and his then girlfriend Cassy Ventura. I think her last name is that how you say her name? Ventura?
I don't know. She got married. So
yeah, I think that's her last name.
Maybe that's her last name. I'm not sure.
I'm not reading any specific article. This is just from memory from what I saw yesterday. But the incident happened back in 2016, which, first of all, for anyone who had this video or knew this video's existence and it didn't come out until now, shame on you. Like, honestly, shame on you.
Yeah.
Really?
That's crazy.
That's a whole other story. But I will describe what went on so if you do not want to watch the video, you don't have to. But if hearing the details triggers you in any way, of course, maybe skip over this part a little bit. But basically, the video shows, from what I understand reading the article, this is actually an incident that she had brought to her lawsuit. So for any of those naysayers out there who was trying to scream, oh, there's no evidence, it's her word against his. Well, here's the evidence of one of the incidents that she described. And from what I understand, they actually initially had an altercation in their hotel room. And I believe she claims that Diddy had actually punched her or hit her. From what I understand from the articles, I guess he then fell asleep or something. And so she tried to leave. She tried to sneak away. So the video actually shows her coming down the hallway. She has her shoes in her hands. Like, she didn't even put them on. She has her purse. She has her bag. She's in jeans and a hoodie, and she's just trying to get to the elevator. She gets to the elevator, she clicks on the elevator, and while she's doing that, Diddy must realize that she's gone, and he comes running out in nothing but a towel, and she is facing away from him when he rounds the corner. So he snatches her up and tosses her to the ground real quick. He kicks her. There is no audio to the surveillance, but you can assume he is yelling at her at this point. She just lays there on the ground. He starts grabbing her stuff. He kicks her again. Then he grabs her by her neck / hoodie shirt and starts to drag her back to the room before he lets her go. Then it fast forwards a little bit, and you see him in the mirror. You see him, I think he shoves her again. Then you see him sitting down, and he takes a glass vase and he throws it in her direction. At this point, I don't think you can see her anymore, because now you're seeing what's happening through a reflection of a mirror in the hotel. But that seems to be the gist of the video. But I mean,
it just
like I said,
really shows how brazen he is. To do that in a hotel, he ran down the hallway into the corridor where the elevators are. That's a high traffic area.
Yeah.
That's not, he didn't try to coax her back to the room and then beat her up, which is be even, horrible.
Right.
Horrible, not saying that would be better.
Right.
Just saying, to me, it just speaks to how much this man knows that he can get away with it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And the fact that he did for almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they dated for so long. They dated for I don't even know how many years. I mean, I think at least a decade was how long they dated for. So the fact that this one instance was caught on camera, like I said, back in 2016, and it's only now being released
this whole time.
Yes. And from what I read in the article, and I don't know if she said this in her deposition when she made her initial lawsuit, or if this was just speculation, but from what I understand, she was eventually able to leave the hotel, but she got scared of how he would react or something from her leaving. So then she tried to go back to the hotel, and the people who did see the video were like, no, don't come back here. We saw what he did. Leave, get out of here.
And y'all didn't call the authorities?
Yeah.
Come on.
Obviously nothing else happened after that, because we're only now learning about it, but
y'all have a whole, you would think that the hotel would be like, you know what, this is a liability. This might be a liability for us if we're caught up in this. So we may as well go ahead and nip this in the butt now and get it over with. That it really, again, it speaks to that man's power, or people's perception of his power.
Yeah.
Because in reality, it only goes so far.
It only goes so far. But, I guess money talks. At this point, though, I don't know if they named the hotel, but I really hope they do, because, they chose, they had a choice in that moment to either be known for protecting their victims or protecting their...
Or being enablers.
Enablers, yeah. And obviously they chose to be an enabler, regardless of what they actually told her when she tried to come back or whatever. Because at the end of the day, this tape never saw the light of day until now. So that's with that crazy. Being said, for anyone who knows of or is in a situation of domestic violence, I just want to reiterate here on the podcast that if you need help, or if you yourself knows of someone who needs help and you're not sure what to do, there is a national domestic violence hotline. Anyone calling can get assistance provided by providing crisis intervention, safety planning, referrals to local services provided. That number is 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233.
And we will
So,
also put that in the description of the video and the podcast for this episode in case you're listening. So,
yes. But anyone who's trying to still defend Diddy,
child, you
no.
know, it was easier when it was, you know, the gay rumors and the murder rumors.
Right,
allegedly over all
everything
of
is
this.
allegedly, but this is
Everything
not
is
allegedly.
alleged. You know,
This
yeah,
particular
this
instance has now
didn't
been
happen
confirmed.
as far as the video tape footage.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is alleged. Okay, just in case, you know, them sharpshooting lawyers is out there.
Right.
But you know, when it came to those things, it was kind of easy to, you know, shoo it away, kind of make a joke about it because, you know, the gay rumor and stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, who gives a shit if Diddy out here, you know, munching on Bucci? And the murder stuff is just kind of like sensationalized at this point. It's kind of part of hip hop lore, you know, because it's never really going to be figured out. You know, if he got away with it, then he got away with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you know, when these abuse allegations came out, I think that's kind of when the tide turned for the public perception of Diddy, because that sort of thing usually tends to come out to be true, you know, or at least have some hint of truth to it.
Yeah.
So now that we had this concrete video evidence, Diddy is over. You cannot come back from something like that.
I don't see it either. Even if nothing else in her lawsuit is ever validated, this one piece is more than enough to certify that. Yeah. I know y'all hate the word, but Diddy is canceled. He's canceled.
Oh, baby.
So sorry.
You know, now I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be okay. Is the music off limits? Because Diddy Dirty Money holds a special place in my heart. It does.
I think someone was like, I can't get rid of my Danity Kane because they're victims too, or something like that. I'll just skip the intros to some of their songs or something like that.
Danity Kane, Day 21. I mean, Day 26. I still listen to them.
That is a personal preference. I do not judge those who will still find enjoyment in problematic people's stuff. Because I understand. I mean, I am a big Harry Potter fan, but J.K. Rowling herself is very transphobic. And it is really hard to separate her because she's so wrapped up into that world. So anytime you find any enjoyment in it, you know, people are quick to point out, well, she's still getting paid for that stuff. But so I choose.
For me, I knew J.K. Rowling was the author. And I mean, read the books. Never associated her with the story.
Yeah.
You know, it was always separate for me, even though I know it comes from her. It's her source material. But I never, ever, even watching the movies and stuff, never ever thought about her. And even the Fantastic Beasts movies, I love everything in that world. Never ever associated with her, you know, but I am by virtue, you know, putting money in that lady pockets, and I like
it's such a catch-22, and I understand both sides of it. I don't when it comes to stuff like that, I just don't judge how you choose to support or not support those things, you know. But yeah, so that is our Celebri-TEA. You know, once again, if you know of anyone, please reach out, find some help anywhere you can. There are a multitude of resources that you can find if you or someone you know needs help. But we're going to move on to something more lighter for the rest of the episode. So we're going to start with our fact or fiction, which
I'm scared.
Good, because I'm really trying to trip you up because you just get them every time.
No, I'll be getting lucky.
No. So
Watch me do it dismally. Here we
I was
go.
about to say, I don't think these are really hard. They're easy like that.
Abysmally. Good God.
I love how I was just like, yeah, what you said.
Chris was like, yeah, that word.
Yeah, that word. That works.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna judge you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
I don't have this in any particular order. Like, it's not from hardest to least hardest or anything like that. I just threw them on here. Okay. Pinocchio was the first animated full-color Walt Disney feature film.
Oh my God. You know what's crazy? We actually went a few weeks ago were looking up the order of the Disney princess movies to see which one was the oldest. And I think during that conversation, I think I found out. Oh no. Okay, wait. You said it's Pinocchio. Is Pinocchio the oldest full-length picture?
Pinocchio was the first animated full-color Walt Disney feature film.
Feature film was the first one. I'm between it and Snow White because I know Snow White is the first of the princess ones, but I'm not. And I know that was in the 30s, but I don't know when Pinocchio is from. I don't even know if I've seen the original Pinocchio. No.
You're right. You're right. Of course. Like, who else would just randomly, look up the first Disney princesses recently to remember that it was in fact Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Who else?
Sorry, it was a coincidence.
Whatever.
I swear on everything. We just haven't had a conversation because I actually thought it was Sleeping Beauty. I thought Sleeping Beauty was the first one.
Right.
But it was Snow White. My bad. I'm sorry. Okay, the next one's gonna get me.
Mario of Super Mario Brothers fame was once a carpenter.
Okay, what's wild is I feel like I saw a video where they said in the original Japanese version that he wasn't a plumber. So I'm going to say that is true.
That is true. Mario's profession was chosen to fit the game design. So he originally aired or was shown in Donkey Kong, which takes place on a construction site. Mario was made into a carpenter then. And when he appeared again in Mario Brothers, it was decided that he would be a plumber because a lot of the game is situated in underground.
Okay. Okay. Is pissed, y'all.
Because I'm like reading this stuff and I'm like, well, I kind of knew the Pinocchio one, but like that one right there, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Just something random that I saw. He's like
randomly, I just randomly look up all this stuff. Okay, people in Japan eat Kentucky Fried Chicken for Christmas dinner.
You know what's crazy?
What's crazy? When did you look up whatever fact or fiction this was now? What's crazy?
No. Okay, no lie. No lie. Okay. I heard one time it's either Japan or it's South Korea that I heard that they do be eating KFC on a holiday. Now I did hear that. But I just don't know if you said it's Japan. I don't know why I'm thinking it's South Korea because the South Koreans, baby, when they come to fried chicken,
they do that fried chicken.
They be frying the hell out that chicken. You know what I'm saying?
I do love some fried chicken for Korean food.
I can't remember if it's Japan or South Korea, but I'm gonna say that's true.
It is true. Yep. It started mainly in the 70s. And it has since grown over the last few decades to become a very popular item for the Japanese folks to enjoy on Christmas Day. In the Star Wars franchise movies, the voice of Yoda is played by the same person who did the voices of Miss Piggy, Grover, and Cookie Monster.
Miss Piggy, Grover, and the same person did Miss Piggy, Grover, and the Cookie Monster?
That's what they're saying. Also did
Okay,
Yoda.
I could see Grover in the Cookie Monster because their voices are similar.
Mm-hmm.
But Miss Piggy, I ain't know. And you said, what was the first one?
That he voiced Yoda in the Star Wars franchise. So in all the movies where Yoda was voiced, it was by the same person who also did Miss Piggy, Grover, and Cookie Monster.
I mean, it would make sense because I think it was all around the same time. Didn't Sesame Street and stuff start in the 70s? I'm pretty sure it started in the 70s. And that's when Star Wars, the first ones, is from. Yoda's voice is similar to the Cookie Monster in it, but I feel like it's just different enough. I'ma say no.
You can say no. Finally. It's actually true. The voices were performed by Frank Oz. He voices all of them: Yoda, Miss Piggy, Grover, and Cookie Monster.
I did not know that them other three was voiced by the same person.
Really?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Okay. The first international Starbucks opened in Milan, Italy.
The first international Starbucks opened in Milan, Italy. In Milan, Italy. International Starbucks. I don't know why I would think they would have started in Canada. But Milan is such a, because technically it's international.
Yeah.
Milan, Italy. It's so specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such it's great marketing because it's Milan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stalling because I don't know the answer. Shit. I'm going to say it's such a ballsy move that I feel like Starbucks. Did they say what year it was?
I think it was in I think it was in like 1980 something.
1980 something.
Yeah.
For y'all to start a Starbucks in Milan, the first international one. I'ma say true.
Mm-hmm. Because Starbucks is like Italian, like grande and stuff like that. Isn't that all Italian type stuff?
Oh, grande.
Like I think their wording is stuff because I remember when I was like
is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, it's still false, but you were actually right the first time. Mm-hmm.
Knew it. God damn it.
So the first international store opened in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And the first outside the US was in Tokyo in 1996. Starbucks originally opened in Seattle in 1971.
Son of a bitch. I knew it was Canada.
That's why I laughed. When you said Canada, I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Like, why weren't you ever on like but Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that? The way you deduced answers, like... Anyways, okay, so my last one. Monaco is the smallest country in the world.
Monaco. I've been to Monaco.
I was about to say, I think you've been there before.
I have. Monaco. It's the smallest country in the world. I mean, it is tiny.
Mm-hmm.
It is teeny weeny. And my first experience, I'm gonna deviate a little bit, Crystal, real quick. My first experience in Monaco was a racist one. I'm not even lying. I'm not. My wife is over in the corner laughing because she knows it's true. We went to Monaco, right? When you get to Monaco off the train, you got to go like Monaco is essentially built on a cliff on the side of a damn mountain.
Yeah, I've been
For
there
real.
before.
So when you get off on the train, you get off at the top of the goddamn mountain, and you got to make your way down.
Well,
so we made our way down. Beautiful,
we did it by bus.
Place. Oh, y'all took the bus. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we did it by, but yeah, we drove. Yeah,
all the way down. See, we walked it because we was like, we want to see the stuff because we got off by the harbor side.
Yeah.
Because I know it's another side. We didn't get to go to the other side, past the palace and stuff. Because we went up to the palace.
I think we were the same, the harbor side.
The harbor side. Okay. Yeah. So we went down there. Went down to the little restaurants or whatever. It was this little restaurant. Had a lot of outside seating areas, right? But it was a very condensed space. And so we went in and we was like, hi, table for two. And low key, they was ignoring us. High key. But we finally got somebody who was like, hey, we want to sit outside. And then he took us to a table. But there was another table that was better. So I was like, oh, can we sit there? And he was like, no. And sat the menus down and kept it pushing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe they have assigned seating for their servers, whatever. They don't want to mess up their rotation. Literally the next couple that walked in behind us, Caucasian couple, goes up, and guess where he seats them? Exactly where I asked to sit. I was so mad that I couldn't even enjoy my lunch. I was because there was absolutely no reason for you to deny me that seat. And then this couple come in here, not like 45 seconds after we sit down, and you sit them in that exact seat. Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Because we had was terrible. In the mix, it was a terrible seat. Anyway, so the question is, Monaco is the smallest country in the world. It is very small, but I'm going to say no.
And what would you consider the smallest country in the world? If it's
I don't know. I feel like it would be some very, very small Caribbean island or something.
Well, you are correct that it is false. It is actually the second smallest country in the world.
Okay.
The first smallest country in the world is actually the Vatican City.
You are right. Right. I have also been there. And
yes,
it is
same.
very, very small. Yeah, we both been there.
We have been there.
Very small.
I will say, in response to your experience, no offense to our French friends, but in my experience, the few times I've been over in that general area, I've kind of experienced similar things, especially because even though I don't speak French anywhere near fluent, but I have taken lessons since I was in high school. That was the language that I was trying to learn. And when I do go over into that general area where people tend to speak more French, I try to, use what I've learned. I try to brush up on what I've learned. Yes.
Boucher à toi, all that.
And it doesn't really, I know when I'm being played, even if I can't necessarily understand it. For instance, when we went to Cannes for the film festival one year, I remember we walked into the restaurant right across the street. It was, a very tiny place. And our server, I will say this, our server was trying to be hospitable. Like, he was trying to not show any sort of favoritism or anything like that. It was, I think, the owner. He was standing outside the door with his arms folded. And this was a very tiny place. So it's like, there was like maybe 5 tables max outside. And so he goes to show us to a table, and the guy is like... So the guy kind of looks at us and is like, sorry. And we're like, it's okay. So he places us in like a very crowded corner instead of in the back area, which was a little more roomy. So we were like, whatever. We just got off a flight. We just went through the hassle of grabbing our bags, being on the bus, traveling through the city with our bags and walking. Like, we're tired. We just want to eat real quick and then go. And so he then goes to bring this little platter over. It's like a tier that had little, appetizer stuff. They were on all the other tables, and he goes to set it down. And again, you hear.
And that's when I would have.
And
When I would have got my
he
shit.
looks at us and he's like, and we're just like, it's fine. And so he takes it away. I'm just like, whatever. I just want to eat. And then the guy actually comes over to take our order. And I try to order us tap water. I know I butchered the language. I get it. But I know you can understand what I'm saying. I'm ordering tap water. And he just kept saying, huh? What? Huh? And finally I go, water. We would just all want water. Oh, he brings us out the bottle of spring water that we have to pay for. Again, whatever. What can you do? But because of that, there was actually another place that was next to our hotel. This guy was super friendly. He was open all day long and pretty much all night long, because there was times where we weren't coming back to our hotel until 2 or 3 in the morning. And anytime we asked him what time he was closing, he would be like, whenever you guys go to bed, whenever you were going to bed. He was very accommodating. The food, however, was not that great. It was very mediocre. But
that's why you wanted to stay
we
open.
chose that mediocre place over the good stuff across the street almost every night. I think that we only went back one more time, and that was towards the end of the week, because we were just got tired of the mediocre stuff by that point. Yeah. But yeah, that's just one of many instances that I've encountered.
If y'all have the pleasure of going to France, and pleasure is in quotes, just be aware that and it don't matter, if you not French, you finna get treated like shit on some occasions. They finna treat you and I feel like it's just maybe in their education system they don't really learn English or anything like that. They're very nationalistic. And they're very proud to be French, and they really don't have interest in other cultures, really. So I think it comes from a frustration of I actually don't know what you're saying because I never learned English, really. And it being the nationalism, no, we're just as good, if not better, than you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they got to kind of show you,
To me, it seems like, especially in the high tourist areas, for the most part, I find a lot of people that do speak English. I think it's more of they find us just rude, and they don't like the fact that we don't tend to just know their language or whatever. Some people just don't take the time to even try to learn a little bit. So, and when you're in a high tourist area, because most of the places I've been to are high tourist areas, you're dealing with, these people every day, all year long, basically, where it's just constant tourists of Americans or whatever, or just people who don't speak your language. I guess I can see the frustration and how you eventually learn
you work in a tourist area. That would be if you and I, where we worked, got annoyed with the fact that we was dealing with tourists all day.
But the difference is that we chose to work in that environment. It's not like they chose to have their home become a tourist place. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Whereas we were okay,
I can see that.
This tourist place is going to bring a lot of people in, so we might make a lot of money there. Whereas their home just happened to be one of those places they live in that is very popular for many tourists. I try not to judge too much.
European cities, especially, if you live in a big European city, that's finna be the vibe. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the economy, of Europe. So it's how do you not, in all these other places that you and I have been, I have never experienced anything like
you're right.
The French.
You're right.
It's
especially
obvious,
especially when I came to Denmark, I was just Everyone is so nice here. Like, I feel so, I usually get so much anxiety going to a country that's not French speaking, because at least with the French speaking, I know a little bit. And so I feel a little bit more comfortable getting around. Whereas when I was coming to Denmark, granted, I was going to have you and your wife there to, you know, navigate and stuff like that. But I was like, oh man, I'm living very close to, I'm going to be staying very close to the city. What happens if I want to go out on my own one night? Like, how easily am I going to be able to navigate? I don't even know how to ask for the bathroom. I was very anxious, but then when I got there, everyone was so nice. Everyone I spoke to spoke English, but even so, like, I don't know how many times they apologized to me for not speaking English or not knowing that I didn't speak their language. There was a couple instances and I'm like, no, like, this is your country. You're allowed to speak your language. It is perfectly okay that you didn't realize that I didn't speak your language. I'm not offended in the least, but they're very, very lovely.
Fast to switch to English, because even like
fast,
me, when I'd be trying to speak Danish to them or whatever, because I understand what they're saying and I be speaking it, but they just switch to English. They be like, girl, don't even worry yourself.
Don't even worry. We'll make it easy. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with Sweden, because when we went over for that weekend in Sweden, it was the same experience. So,
oh, we sound pretentious. God, I just hit me. I was like, oh, because when we took our weekend in Sweden, what the?
They're right next to each other. They are a train right away. I mean, it's like $20 to get on this train.
And you don't even need a passport.
You don't.
Supposedly, because I forgot mine at the house. And they were like, oh, yeah, come on in.
Whatever.
Like,
maybe we'll do an episode where we talk about our adventures and how we got there. But let's get into it. We are pretty much more than halfway through the episode.
And we haven't 2/3 into the show and they ain't done a damn story. They finna be pissed. They finna be pissed.
Especially.
Girl, let's try. Okay, we can speed through these and make it. All right.
Okay.
So this one comes to us by the way of Reddit in the subreddit r/am I the asshole, and it is entitled "Am I the asshole for sending a price sheet to my family after not being invited to my half sister's wedding?" Yeah, Crystal. So she says, let's get straight to the point. I love that. Let's get straight to the point. I, 22-year-old female, am a full-time baker for a small business and a college student. I moved back up to my home state in September of 2023, mostly to get away from my toxic family and for better opportunities. Also, to add to why this is even an issue in the first place, my brother, Jay, 25 male, and I are the black sheep of the family, mostly due to the fact that we were born and mostly raised outside of marriage. The teasing and neglect only grew worse after our mother, 44-year-old female, married Jerkfish, 54-year-old male, and had our half-siblings, 20-year-old female, 17-year-old male, 16-year-old male, and 11-year-old male. God damn, that's a lot of kids. Now, here's the dilemma. My half-sister, who we will call JoJo, 20 female, is getting married to Rit, 22 male, in July. My mom and grandma asked that I make them a wedding cake, which I would have happily agreed to if I was invited to the wedding. The thing is, they wanted me to make a cake fit for 200 people, get a hotel near them. They hate that I'm not Christian, so they think I'll bring evil into their house, work for 3 days, and get a flight there and back. I'd have to pay for it all, and they think it'd be a nice gift to my sister. I just laughed and sent them my price sheet. They flipped out. I was bombarded with texts from them about how selfish I am, how I am truly vile, how I am toxic for expecting my family to pay for my cake when they could just go to Walmart and get one, etc. What? Carry y'all ass down to the Walmart then. How about that? JoJo even messaged me on Discord a week after I had sent the price sheet and asked why I would charge her when I made my best friend a free wedding cake. I simply told her to fuck off. As not only was I invited to her wedding, but I was the maid of honor. And in a way, it was returning the favor for being a genuinely good friend, and helping me out when I was going through a lot. Jay and his wife have said that I'm not wrong for it, and they do the same thing. And my boyfriend is on my side. However, a few people in my life are saying that I should have just said a simple no instead of sending the sheet, and that my response to my sister was harsh. So I need an outside perspective. Hopefully, other bakers on here too. Am I the asshole? Crystal,
No,
what say you?
no. And obviously, any of those people who are trying to downplay the situation have not been in that situation themselves. So they can't really imagine having family members treat you that way. So they're going to react to it more sympathetically when they try to put themselves in that situation, because at the end of the day, in their eyes, their family wouldn't be so cruel, so how could they be so cruel? But at the end of the day, yeah, your family is being super cruel to you by wanting all of this and not offering to pay for anything. Maybe if they had offered to pay for your flight, your hotel, something to accommodate, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have been as harsh. I still would have said no. But I wouldn't have been as harsh about it. But yeah, no, not the asshole at all. And good on you for recognizing that you don't need these people in your life on the daily. I don't think it was harsh in the least. It's very easy for the golden child to be confused about why you're treating them this way, and why you're being so harsh. But you know what, you don't need that kind of stuff, those people in your life. So you said what you had to say, and obviously this is not something that will be resolved in any sort of way, in any sort of familial way. It's obviously just going to continue to stay separate, and for your mental health, that's probably for the best. I would just continue on, block them all and move on.
Can you imagine having the gall to ask someone to make you a cake for free that you're not even inviting to the wedding? And this is your half sister.
Right.
That you're not even gonna allow her to come to the wedding, but you want her to come there and make a cake for a wedding that she's not allowed to come to.
Right. Like, you think my presence is going to cause evilness, but the cake that I'm making with my very own 2 hands for the next 3 days that you guys will then consume, that's perfectly okay.
Because low key, there are ways.
There are ways. I'm just saying.
What is it, Miralax?
Sometimes
they
religious
all be fighting over the toilet.
Some people's religious explanations are very hypocritical and confusing.
Have you ever seen that episode? I think it was it Wife Swap? When that lady, it was like the super duper religious lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about the demons was in the she was talking about the demons was in the house and stuff.
Mm-mm.
You ain't never seen that, Crystal. I'm gonna have to send it to you. But I think now actually she is supposedly like super duper, because I think she was like, like the demons in the house, exorcisms, like that level where she was condemning. But now she's like a super duper ally for the gays and everything else. Like she's like super liberal now. Like,
yeah, I've had a few people in my family who started off very religious because that's what they grew up into, and then something inevitably happened where their views shift, and now like you meet them now and they're completely different than who they were when I was a child, and who they are now suits them. Like, there is a lightness to them that I had never saw as a child. Like, they are very much who they're meant to be now. Like, all the stuff they believed before was someone else's beliefs that just got tacked onto them, and so and they were never able to at the time have their own kind of thoughts. They thought they believed it because it was their own stuff, but in reality they learned to realize that it wasn't even about them. It was their family that kind of influenced that.
You know what I think would be interesting one day for us to do an episode where we have someone who used to be really, really deep in the church, but is now not part of the church to come on and kind of explain that transition. And also, if there's someone out there that's listening to this podcast and you used to be a part of a cult, come talk to us. I would love to have you on the show.
That would be
I
super
would
interesting.
love to have an episode about it. If you want to explain your experience of you in that cult and how you got out, because don't come over here and no subliminal trying to get people in no cult shit, okay?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Because I will delete the whole episode. And I will plead the blood of Jesus. But if y'all know anybody out there along those lines, send them our way, tandcrystal@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Okay, so
to
we're
your story.
moving on to my story. This one is also from Am I the Asshole? It is, Am I the Asshole for sarcastically congratulating my dad? So when I, 17 female, was 5, my dad left my mom and me. Since then, I saw him maybe 3 to 4 times at family functions. From my family, I found out he got married and had other kids. I figured he wouldn't have been a good dad just because of the type of dad he had been to me my whole life. Yesterday was my great grandma's 100th birthday, so we were doing a big party for her. A few days ago, I found out from my grandma my dad is going to be there and more than likely with his kids. I was still going to go though because I've always been so close to my great grandma. About an hour of me being at this party, my dad, his wife, and their 2 kids walk in. The kids were about 3 and 6 years old. I watched them off and on through the party. My dad was actually being a dad. He was playing with his kids and listening to them, even had cute nicknames for them. Then my dad came up to me and said pretty much, hey, my name. How are you? How have you been? It's been a while. I will admit I was upset seeing my dad act like the person he never was to me and he was never put in the effort. So I said, I'm okay. I then pointed over to his kids and said, congratulations on actually being a dad this time around. My dad got mad and said he was sorry, but he can't change the past. He never even put any of the effort in. He never even put any effort in to call or text me or want to come visit me. I then had other family members tell me I need to grow up and get over it and now be happy for my dad. So, am I the asshole? And before you say anything,
Okay.
I want to say that she did leave a comment that further explained that she said, when I was 12 years old, we had this big family gathering at the park. My mom thought it was a good idea. I went to see if I could see my cousins as well as other relatives. My dad pulled me aside and told me about how he was sorry he hadn't been around for me. He told me about how him and his now wife, which she had only met once at that point when they were dating, had a baby girl together, and that sometime soon he wants her to meet them and that he wants to spend more time with her. He later talked to her mom to set up a day to spend time with her. That day, she waited outside for 3 hours waiting for him to show, but he never did. He called a few hours later saying lost track of time, but he'll make up for it. That happened a few more times until he eventually went radio silent for the last 5 years. Her mother's number had never changed, and in fact, she actually gave him her number once she got her own phone, and he never contacted her.
So, off rip, you are not the asshole. Not the asshole in the slightest. I mean, it was petty. You are petty.
And I love petty.
Because you you could have left it where it was. You could have left it where it was.
You didn't need to.
Huh?
She didn't need to.
I absolutely
have.
agree.
She didn't need to, though.
I'm with her 100% in her
Yeah,
response.
yeah. Yeah.
But the response was petty.
It was.
Okay. As I have experience in this area, right? And I think in my specific situation, I think that so much time had passed that, I ain't gonna say my business. Actually, what I will say is this, because it's too specific. It's too specific. It is difficult to kind of see someone that you felt like should have been there for you be there for someone else in that capacity. But low key, I really feel like And even in these instances where you have a parent that decides that they don't want to be part of your life, essentially, that even though that hurt is there and there are a lot of things that they could have done to help you as you grew up, I think you can find value in the lessons that you learned and the person that you became without them being there. And that's if you feel that you've become a well-adjusted person despite them being absent from your life. If you feel like you are not a functioning adult, be stemming from them not being in life, then what I'm saying does not apply to you. Y'all don't come at me in the comments. My daddy wasn't there for me, and I'm a crackhead. This is not for you. This is not for you. Okay, I'm just laying that out there. I'm saying if you feel that you are a well-adjusted adult, despite the fact that your daddy left your ass behind, like many of our daddies did. Okay, many of our daddies did. There are lessons that you can get from it and that you can apply to it. I think at this point, you really need to let that relationship go. As crazy as it sounds, it's better for you just to let it go. Let that man have the life that he made for himself. If that doesn't include you, then it just don't include you. Find other ways to fill the void. Or be like some of us and nope. Girl, tell all my business on this podcast tonight. Yeah. That's where I'll leave it at.
I agree with you. Okay, we're gonna quickly go into the last story so we can get it out there. So this one is also an Am I the Asshole? It says, Am I the asshole for arguing with my wife about the childbirth? My wife doesn't want me in the room when she gives birth. The reason is a pretty stupid reason, but here it goes. So when we gave birth to our son 2 years ago, I was on the phone the entire time. I would leave and take calls while she was in labor. My wife and the nurse found it extremely disrespectful that I did that. I stated several times that I did it out of stress because I was worried about her and the baby. She also accused me of not doing much besides going to work after our son was at home. While we have worked it out, I have refused to apologize because I'm dealing with my own shit too. Now we have a baby on the way. She told me she doesn't want me in the room because I completely disrespected her last time and refused to apologize for it. I don't know why she's still not over this, but I have told her several times that I'm not missing my child's birth over petty bullshit like this. She still wouldn't budge. Was I the asshole here? My friends are on my side, but my parents are on my wife's side.
So I was so taken aback by the fact that he said when we gave birth, like that stopped me in my tracks. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I did not hear what the offense was. He on? You said he was answering the phone while she was giving birth?
Like he was on phones and like calls and texts pretty much the whole time.
The whole time. Okay, that's what I thought you said. But I was so aghast at the fact that he said when we gave birth. This is another one of those situations, right? Where ma'am, I know the man wrote the letter, but ma'am, I really want somebody to take you by the shoulders and ask you the hard questions. Why did you decide to have another child with this man? And we can probably guess, because if he answering phones and texts and everything else and he worried about his career and whatever, he probably bringing a little money. Okay. And money, you know what they say, look what money will make a bitch do. Okay. And a bitch is gender neutral. Okay. That bitch can be a man, bitch can be a woman, bitch can be non-binary. Okay. All y'all bitches. Let's get that straight. Okay. So I'm irked with you, lady, for even putting your. No, I'm not gonna say that. For letting that man shoot the club up. Okay, because he shouldn't have had the privilege. He shouldn't have had the privilege the second time. He shouldn't have had it. I do think it's so disrespectful for your husband to disrupt and disturb such a traumatic, number one, because it can be traumatic, important, significant, monumental, special moment in your life, right? Because a lot of things can go right and a lot of shit can go wrong during that time. And you are experiencing things in your body that you never thought would happen to you. So for him to be so detached and disrespectful of the space is grounds for him to be tooted and motherfucking booted from the room. However, I do think it is a little harsh. I can see you kicking him out in the moment. But I do think it's a little harsh to deny him the privilege of seeing his child born since you let him shoot the club up. You did it, man. You let it happen. Now you got to let your husband come in there. And if he get to talking on his phone, texting on his phone, then you gonna have to act accordingly at that time. Make sure you ask him to leave. If you need somebody in the room to petition on your behalf to have him removed, you need to say that. If your daddy need to be in the room, if your mama in the room and she, one of them little chihuahuas that get the yipping and yapping around the ankles, because sometimes chihuahuas is more scary than German shepherds. I ain't gonna hold you. Them little teeth, even though they don't break no skin, it just be gums and barks on your ankles.
Yeah.
So if you need to set up some type of safeguard there to make sure that either he acts accordingly or he gets the hell up out the way, then that needs to happen. But other than that, sir, you are the asshole. You are the asshole.
Yes.
However, I feel like you do have a right to be present for the birth of your child.
Yeah.
Reluctantly.
I can kind of agree with all that. I will say that maybe it's better to have a plan A, B, and C type thing, where if he does start acting up, you can kick, because you can do that in a lot of hospitals. It is ultimately the woman who's giving, it's the wife's preference or the woman's preference, who she wants in the room, and she can change her mind at any moment, and they will accommodate that. With that being said, I personally don't understand why he feels like him not being there is missing the birth of his child, considering he didn't really participate in the first one anyways. I mean, what were you doing? But I get it. I get what she's trying to say. When you're in that moment, you really need someone who's going to be attentive to you, who wants to have a partner, who's paying no attention to you. And the fact that he can't even apologize for that, like he still doesn't see what was wrong. Like for him, that was dealing with being worried for her by not paying attention to her or your child being born. That somehow was supposed to show that you were worried about her and your child being born in that moment. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely say asshole for the guy. I would like Timmy said, maybe just kind of do it more in the moment. I mean, I'm not going to begrudge you if you ultimately decided not to allow him in at all. You have your reasons and they are valid. But if if you want to try to give him a chance, because you are married to this man, you supposedly worked it out, see if he's willing to do better this time. And if not, then in the moment.
The ultimatum should be you leave that phone in the car.
And yeah, we don't need to bring it in here.
I got my phone on me.
Right.
If we need to call somebody, get in contact with somebody, we can use. There's a landline in the room.
Right.
Other than that, leave your phone.
We got a TV to entertain you in between these contractions.
We got a digital camera if you want to take pictures and videos. Other than that,
yeah.
Hell no.
Hell no. All right.
Okay.
We did it.
Thank you for that, Crystal. We
got some stories in there.
Every time we say we did it, I'll be thinking backpack, 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 backpack. Dora.
Yes.
We did it. I don't know the Spanish word she'd be saying, but
definitely way too old for all that.
Oh, I
While
be
I do know what Dora
forgetting.
is, this is where our age gap really shows.
Yeah. I remember when Dora premiered on television. Like, I remember being in front of the television watching Nick Jr. No, it wasn't even, I think it was Nickelodeon because I think it premiered at night, actually, which is so crazy for kids.
I was about to say,
It
yeah.
premiered at night. Anyway, that's where I learned chocolate. Sorry. And I remember the chocolate. That's all. That's the only Spanish I know, for real. whatever Dora and Boots was teaching, and Swiper, little swiping ass.
Right.
That's all I know.
That's all I ever remember. Swiper, no swiping.
No swiping. Yeah. And anyway, thank you all for joining us for another random ass episode of the Tea and Crystals podcast. If you like what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening. That is so important. Please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening, and a written review as well. That is so important. If you like what you saw, make sure that you leave a like, comment, you share, and subscribe on YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube. Y'all been YouTubing. Thank you for all the comments, all the wonderful things that y'all have to say over on the YouTube. It is really turning into a cute little community over there. Like, we're seeing familiar faces in the comments and stuff. I am very, very much enjoying the YouTube street. So thank y'all. Shout out to y'all in the YouTube.
Shout out to Sharon. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Sharon, girl.
I know, right?
How you doing? You watching right now, ain't you? You finna get hype. You finna get crunk for Memorial Weekend. You finna go shake. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, or you would like to share your own story with us, please do so at teaandcrystal@gmail.com. And that is dead ass. Like, we're gonna start posting on our social media. We want more of your stories. Y'all was doing good for a while. We want more. We ain't gonna pick every single one because some of y'all be sending duds. but the ones that rise to the top, we finna share them on the show. So make sure you do that at teaandcrystal@gmail.com, teaandcrystal@gmail.com, or on any of our social medias. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook by searching Tea and Crystals Podcast. Follow us on TikTok at Tea and Crystals Podcast, and on Instagram at Tea and Crystals Pod. Now, Crystal, is there anything you want to say to the people before we get the hell up out of here?
No, just to reiterate that we will not be having a new episode next week due to Memorial Day weekend. So we will definitely be letting you know. We will have one the following weekend. Yes, we will have one the following weekend.
Yeah, the 31st. We will be back.
But we, of course, will let you guys know.
The 7th. We will be.
I was about to say. I was like, wait, there's gonna be a week where we don't see, where you won't see us.
We'll be back on the 7th.
Yes. So, again, just keep an eye on our socials. We'll keep you updated there. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.